Well,
You've beaten me at my own game.
don't flatter yourself. You were never even a player.
Flame me out, Hotman! My name is Jade and welcome to my space. In today's video, we're going to be journaling about one of the best shows ever made, Avatar: The Last Airbender. This show means a lot to my childhood and it's definitely a show I will watch over and over for the rest of my life. In this video, I'm just going to talk about why I love this show so much and give you a few of my thoughts on the live-action Netflix debacle, so let's get into it. If for some magical reason you live under a rock, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a show that came out on Nickelodeon way back in 2005. It's about a boy who's bound in an iceberg and has to learn how to master all the 4 elements so he can defeat the nation's Fire Lord and restore balance to the nation. That was an extremely shitty synopsis, but I didn't want this part to be super long, so let's just move along. So, I'm pretty sure you're not asking yourself, Jade, why do you love Avatar? But I'll tell you anyway. The show means the world to me for many reasons. Reason number 1 is basically pure nostalgia. I was in elementary school when this show first came out, and I actually ended up watching a few of the episodes of the first season in the hospital. My mom ended up buying a couple of the DVDs from Costco, and we watched those few DVDs over and over. This show is one of the first shows that I consciously remember waiting for every week. Even though growing up I was more of a Disney kid than a Nickelodeon kid, I made sure to keep up to date on Avatar because I thought it was that special. The second reason why I love Avatar is because it's genuinely a good show. I know that not a lot of people like to watch anything that's animated, but I think that this show should be the biggest exception to that. Avatar is very well written. Almost every episode helps advance the plot in a really good way. I know it's not completely perfect, but in my heart it is for me, and that's all that matters. Now, while I do agree that Season 3 is the best season for a multitude of reasons, I feel like Season 1 doesn't get the love that it deserves. I will agree that there are several episodes that could be removed and it wouldn't affect the plot, but oddly enough, some of those episodes mean a lot to me, like when we meet Jet, or the episode of the waterbending scroll. Are those episodes truly pivotal to the plot? No, but those episodes were the ones that I first watched when I was in the hospital. And I will always be thankful for those episodes because without them, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have watched Avatar at all. The third reason why I love this show so much is because it has the most glorious soundtrack ever. Soundtracks are so important, and really beautiful ones stand out in your mind forever. All of the songs in the show sound so distinct, and no matter what song, and no matter how much time has passed, the second you hear it, you're instantly drawn back to the show and the love that you have and the nostalgia that it brings. And for me personally, there's not a lot of soundtracks that can strangle my heart like that. And I guess one of the final reasons why I love Avatar is because I can rewatch it without getting bored. Avatar ended in 2008, and I've seen reruns of the show basically my entire childhood and all of my teenage years before I switched cable for Netflix. Over the last few years, when people would talk about themselves rewatching The Office or Friends for the 1000th time, I just didn't get it. Like, why would you watch the show over and over and over? But now looking back, I watched Avatar over and over and over. So it's like, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? These shows bring comfort, so why wouldn't you watch them over and over and over? And thinking about it like that makes me wish that Netflix had a shuffle button so I could watch the episodes out of order like I did growing up. Now I want to spend a little time talking about the characters in this show. Aside from the wonderful adventure that the audience takes while watching, none of the characters in this story feel dull, and all of the main characters don't feel underdeveloped, except for maybe Toph and Suki, but I would like to argue that unlike Zuko, Katara, Aang, and Sokka, Toph and Suki are more secure in themselves and confident with their identities than the others, which is why I'm okay with them not having as much development as the other main characters. I know that everyone in this fandom praises the character development that Zuko goes through in the series, and yes, I do agree that he does have the best development and one of the best written redemption arcs for any character ever. I think that not a lot of people appreciate the character development that Aang, Katara, and Sokka go through. Like, yes, it is a bit more subtle, but I feel like it shows how growing up is a slow process. Unlike Zuko, they didn't have a figure like Iroh in their life to help them speed up the process. If you're wondering who my favorite characters are, it's definitely Zuko, Katara, and Aang. Sokka too, but more so for comedic relief most of the time. But I also really love Azula. I think that Azula is one of the best villains ever written. Like, if you really pay attention to her and who she is and how she came to be the cruel girl that she is at the end of the series, it really makes you appreciate why she's thrown into the mix. Because without Azula, there really wouldn't be any solid conflict in the story at all. And one of the final reasons why I love the characters in the show so much is because growing up, they felt like my friends. I know that's kind of weird, but from what I've seen online, there are a lot of adults today that thought the same when they were kids, which is why I feel the nostalgia hits even harder when you rewatch Avatar as an adult. It's like you're saying hi to a friend you haven't seen in a very long time, and no other show except Sailor Moon gives me that feeling. If you watched Avatar either as a kid or for the first time recently, comment down below who your favorite character is and why. I really like reading the different interpretations people make of each character because we all see different things in them and make different theories about certain actions they make, and I find them all fun to read. I want to talk about the spread really quickly. The notebook that I'm using is a Midori A5 notebook. The Midori notebooks are my favorite because they're more on the inexpensive side, but they have really nice paper quality and they're bound to lay flat. I know that the new popular journal brand is Archer and Olive, but I don't think I'll ever pay $30 for a notebook. The red paper and the cloud paper that I used are Luca Lab A5 refill paper for a 6-ring binder. And don't worry, I didn't waste the paper after I used it. I used them in other spreads. All the pictures that I used are from either Pinterest or Google Images. One of the things that I love doing in my spreads is getting headshots of the characters in a show or a movie and layering them on top of one another in a sort of like collage type of thing. Like I said, I'm a character-driven viewer, so having them prominent is important to me. And the glitter stars that you'll see me put on towards the end of the video are from Target and Michaels, I think. I got the idea for this from Queen Justine Bujo. They're incredibly tedious to glue down, but they're so satisfying to look at on the page. If you have any questions on the supplies or anything else, please comment them down below. I'm more than willing to answer. Now let's move on to my opinion on the Netflix live adaptation. If you don't know, the co-creators of Avatar, Michael and Brian, stepped down from their executive producer position because Netflix didn't want to bring the live action to life in the creator's vision, which honestly really sucks. From what I've seen online, Brian and Michael weren't going to have full 100% creative control, but from the post that Brian posted, they just wanted to collaborate with Netflix to bring the live action to life. But Netflix didn't agree to any of the ideas that they proposed. So after 2 years of trying to make the show that they wanted, Michael and Brian stepped down. And if you're wondering why the fans wanted a live action so badly, is because we so desperately wanted something to erase the travesty that was the Avatar movie that M. Night Shyamalan made. Plus, if the Netflix live adaptation was done right, there would be so much wonderful, proper Asian representation that we literally don't have here in the States. Not unless you're watching a K-drama, but all K-dramas are made in Korea. Like, just imagine Azula as a badass Korean woman with the world's greatest death stare. Like, bye, M. Night Shyamalan could never. I also saw this rumor going around that Netflix wanted to age up the actors and make them sexual. And while I agree with the idea of aging them up, making them sexual just feels wrong. I don't know how true that rumor is, but I think that trying to turn this beautiful, wholesome show into Game of Thrones is just so unnecessary. And if that actually does end up happening, I don't think I'll ever forgive Netflix for ruining something so precious and wholesome. Another rumor that I saw was that the creators wanted to cast exclusively Asian actors, but Netflix kind of wants to whitewash it and incorporate white characters and white actors. And that's another thing that I definitely disagree with, for 2 reasons though. Reason number 1 is because in the movie adaptation, Sokka, Katara, and Aang are all played by white actors, and the villains who are firebenders are played by darker-skinned actors, which is just an archaic and shitty trope. And second of all, 13 of the voice actors in the show itself are white as well. White people have already taken up space that they shouldn't have. And don't get me wrong, I love the voice actors in the show. I don't think I could enjoy Avatar with new voice actors, but for the live action, it would just feel wrong and insensitive. And I'm not saying that to please PC culture, I'm saying that because, think about it. How often do we get a fully Asian cast for an epic story that centers around Asian culture here in the States? Literally Never. Even Netflix's adaptation of Death Note was super whitewashed, and even though Japan has made their own Death Note live actions, none of them are available to watch here in the States. It would be so wonderful to have a fully Asian story that celebrates a plethora of Asian culture with an exclusively Asian cast, and if your response to that is, oh well, what if a white person fills this role better, then you fully miss the point of my rant. And also, like I said, these are just rumors I read online, so I don't know how true they are, so please take them with a grain of salt. But at this point, I think the live action should just be thrown away if Michael and Brian aren't involved. Anyways, friends, let me know what you think of the spread that I made. I think it's chaotic, but like a good chaotic. And before you ask if I've seen Legend of Korra, I did back when it premiered. I watched every season, but it wasn't my favorite. For me, it just didn't have the magic that Avatar had, and I know that Legend of Korra fans hate when people compare the two shows, but I think it's inevitable. The number one thing that I hated was the fact that Korra lost connection with her past lives. I know people like to argue that the avatar that comes after her would have access to their past lives, but I'm pretty sure they made it very clear in Avatar that if the connection was lost, you can't get it back. So that would just ruin everything for whoever comes after Korra. But at the same time, it's been a few years since I've watched Legend of Korra, so I think it's 1000% time for a rewatch, so maybe my perspective will change. The more that I think about Legend of Korra, I feel like Nickelodeon didn't constantly play reruns of Legend of Korra like they did for Avatar, but it's been so long that I just don't remember. Also, speaking of Netflix, I know that Netflix has the right to stream Nickelodeon shows, so where's iCarly, or Drake and Josh, or The Amanda Show, or Rugrats? Why is Netflix constantly fumbling the bag? Also, I know that there are comics that spin off of what happens in the series finale, and I've bought a few of them from my Kindle. I just haven't read them yet because I was so busy with school this summer, and now the fall semester, but I hope to dive into those stories as well in the future, especially hopefully by the end of this year. But that is it for this video, friends. I hope that y'all enjoyed. I know I've been gone for a while, but I've pre-filmed a lot of videos that will be coming out within the next few weeks. If you're new here, subscribe if you're interested in seeing what else I'm going to put out, because it is a lot of really fun stuff. Comment anything you want down below, wear a mask, fight racism, protect your sanity, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Stay gold.